Hi and welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy and we're going to start on our part 4 series of this book review that I'm doing. And in this portion, I want to deviate a little bit from the book itself that we're going through. And I want to take a minute and talk about the goddess Hathor. Some of the information is from the celestial ships of the north, but some of this is my additional research, so I want to give credit where credit's due. So you have a lot of this time period where they're associating animals because of the astrology, and then you have these other animals that are become like, as you go down into time, you've got these heraldry, these coat of arms, and all of these. They have these different symbols. And all of these symbols mean different things. And they really go back to this mother worship, okay? So this is how all this stuff got into the Iberian Peninsula, was from this area all around the Mediterranean. You know, these people had moved out. They had some disasters there. And like they talk about in Atlantis, that they had these islands. I think it was like Santorini. Well, that was all a bigger landmass there, but remember we talked about the Garden of Eden was right off to the side of Crete, and it didn't survive, and they moved it. They moved it to the east, and they had already set up the land of Nod, but they had another city that was in ancient Anatolia. But, you know, all of these people ended up going to the Iberian Peninsula, and that's where they found Tartaria, was in Tartessos in southern Iberia, Spain. And all of these people ended up in the United States. Now, I think they were there a long time ago, and because in this book they talk about how this culture from Chem, that were the chemists, these were the inventors of the world. They all came out of Africa. They were the African people. It's just plain as the nose on your face. And so, these people were the first people, and they ended up in this amalgamation of group, because we had all of these different races that were coming into existence. We had the yellow race. They talk about it in the Urantia books. Later they have the blue race and the violet race, but they had the red race, and they had the orange and the green, and they had several different races that they put, imbued us with, or however you want to call it, that were on the planet. So, these people ended up in the Iberian Peninsula, just like we've talked about, just like all of these old world buildings. These could have been built by the people from Kush, because they traveled all over the world and they lived this religion. This mother worship was all over the world, everywhere. And, they found the stuff in Egyptian stuff in the Grand Canyon. It's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. So the lion symbolized strength and vigilance. The eagle, the golden bird that soared fearlessly under the sun. The serpent is the image of eternity. The sun is life and light. The lightning held the sting of death. The cat, they represented the moon because it could see in the dark. And then the cat's eyes became the sun. And then we ended up having this evil eye thing later. Has to do with all of this stuff. God's final curse or oracle to us was that the serpent was the offspring. The serpent was the offspring of woman that will crush or bruise Satan's head. So, we're the offspring of woman. We came from mother. So we are the offspring. It's only us humans that can crush the head of Satan. So folks, that's pretty plain right there. And Satan would strike or bruise his heel. Yeah, he may strike or bruise us, but we're going to crush him. We're going to crush him. But the serpent means son and wisdom. Physical regeneration, immortality. Moses, he was an initiate of Egypt. Chemites, they're the serpents. They're the serpents. We got to start working on the nuclear family here. Because we got to bring this back together, folks. For real. You know, when they talk about that on the day that the moon is conjunction with the sun means rebirth within. And that's every 29th day. The beetle marked this for people. That's why the scarab beetle was so important. Prometheus equaled with the eagle and fire in Scorpio. So when Prometheus came, you know how they talk about that Prometheus defied God? Exactly, he did. He did. The moon in eclipse is fatal to gestation. I thought that was really neat. So I want to get into talking about Hathor, because Hathor is a representation of the mother, the divine mother. And these are depictions, you'll find her depiction in the hieroglyphs in Egypt. And she has these horns on, and it's so many speculations to who she is. But, you know, she came from Ra, who was considered the absolute. And then it says that her consort was Ra. So she's a manifestation of Ra, right? And then it also says Horus, Atum, Amun, and Kansu. So she's a consort to a few different things. So we've got Atum, Amun, which almost seems like Amun. So it says that Hathor is often depicted as a cow. So, you know, when they were worshiping the bull and Moses came down and he was mad, it was because they were probably going through the change of the epoch, and they were going from the bull into the next epoch. You know what I mean? Because you changed all the symbolism. Everything that, when it changed, everything changed. The location changed. Maybe that's why he was wandering around in the desert for 40 years, because he was trying to find the next sign for the next epoch, right? And then the donkey came up, so they thought it was a, I don't know, what does the donkey represent in astrology? I'm not even sure. So maybe that's why they thought that was the epoch, and that's why they reported, that one philosopher reported that there was a donkey head inside the inner temple. So Hathor is depicted as a cow. She's represented as a lioness, a cobra, and a sycamore tree. Cattle goddesses similar to Hathor were portrayed in Egyptian art and the 4th millennium BC. And it says that she may not have appeared until the Old Kingdom of 2686 BC. So that's 3,000 years. So that's 5,000 years ago. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is the first religion here. There's more temples that are dedicated to her than any other place. Her most prominent temple is Diendra in Upper Egypt, and she was also worshipped in the temples of her male consorts. So she was in everything. She just was taken out, you know. She's considered a representation of the goods of incense, semi-precious stones, and for women that wanted to have children, fertility. Okay, Mut and Mut Isis were later encroached into Hathor's, what she was standing for. So we had all these other gods and deities that they were bringing forth that were just being basically a rewash of the same thing, maybe modified a little more. So that's why you see a lot of cattle in these pre-dynastic Egyptian art on these hieroglyphs. It all has to do with the mother goddess Hathor. And so, you know, this just goes on further. She was the sky goddess. She was the solar goddess. I mean, the falcon god Horus represented, among other things, the sun in the sky. Her house was the sky. So also, she's the goddess of music, dance, and joy. Like, you know, you'll hear some people talk about how we need to spend more time like being more Pan-like the goddess Pan. Well, it's because they're talking about you just need to have more enjoyment in your life. You know, more enjoyment, embracing your creativity, enriching your soul, using your solar plexus, socializing, you know. And then it just goes on and on about this, basically the same thing. But, you know, this comes down to this Typhonian order of the mother worship. And we're getting into 10 minutes on that. So we're going to get into the very first part of the Typhonian order, and then we're going to go on to part 5 on this. So the Typhonian order, remember how they called her Typhon? They called Mother Earth Typhon, and then they want to represent her like a serpent, a golden serpent on top of a black pyramid, I think is what it was. So anyway, this Typhonian order is what they called themselves because, you know, I guess when other things came along, they had to distinguish themselves otherwise. It's previously known as the Typhonian Ordo Templi Orientis, or Toto. It is a self-initiatory, and then they put magical organization based in the UK that focuses on magical and Typhonian concepts. See, they're already threading the whole lines of seeds of doubt throughout the whole thing. The Typhonian order is among the most well-known T-H-E, it's like Helmic, but they put a T on the front, Helmic, magical orders, primarily due to the publications of Kenneth Grant. In particular, it has influenced Dragon Rouge and was instrumental in the creation of some magic movement. So then they want to take this Typhonian order, which is for the mother, and try to tie it to Aleister Crowley and this religion that he was in, which we know that he was into the Church of Satan. So what exactly, how did they get so off track in this if they were following the mother, and then they ended up getting into all these sex rites and these sacrifices? So, you know, I think that it got convoluted. I don't think we're supposed to be doing that. That's why Archangel Michael comes back as Jesus, and it's Jesus Christ, Michael, saying, no more sacrifices, no more sacrifices. And Abraham was told too, no more sacrifice, don't kill your son, don't do that. So then you just go through this whole thing about how it's tied to Aleister Crowley and all these terrible things, but not one bit of it tells you what is the philosophy. Not one bit. Not one bit. It just says a left-hand path. So I'm gonna have to get a book on this to read about it, because all they want to talk about is sex magic and all of this stuff, and I cannot possibly believe that mother worship is based on sex magic. There's just no way. There's just no way. So this was the Typhonian order. So this is what they have done to the mother worship. They have turned mother worship into devil worship, truthfully. And it's so super disgusting. So with that, I'm going to end this. It's been 13 minutes, and we're going to do some more research, and I'm going to finish listening to this Audible book on all of this information, and I'm going to go to the library tomorrow and see if I can find any books on the Typhonian order that are not BS, for real. So with that, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So what do you think? So what do you think about all the lies we've been told in our history? Isn't it just a disgusting shame? Seriously. We spend all this time being divided. So as long as you be divided, you can be conquered, right? I refuse to live by that anymore. So everybody needs to step into their purpose. And with that, get outside today and put your feet in the grass. Be thankful for everything that you have. Say thank you to the Father, Heavenly Father, and the Mother Earth. And with that, when you find me, I'll be here, because we're living in the past, present, and the future, all at the same time. So thanks for spending 15 minutes with me on Sacred Enzyme, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.